let's go on to the next story. Mr. Fakler, we're going to go to you with this story. This story is coming out of the Miami Herald. A little background before I start. Governor of Florida is called Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is considering, according to media reports, possibly running for president on the Republican side. So that is the backdrop. Now, John, I'm going to read you the headline, and I'll read you the first couple graphs, and I'll ask you to comment. Headline: the DeSantis-Backed bill would restrict non-resident land buys from China, Russia, Venezuela. Critics draw ugly comparison. First couple graphs. A priority bill of Governor Ron DeSantis was called discriminatory by dozens of Chinese Americans on Wednesday, with some drawing comparisons to a Nazi-era law requiring Jews to register their properties with the state. HB 1355 and its companion bill, SB 264, would restrict ownership of land and property by those from 7 countries of concern, a response to reports of a Chinese company buying farmland next to a North Dakota Air Force base last year. Lawmakers stress the legislation is not meant to affect anyone living in Florida. The bills would prohibit anyone living in those countries from acquiring certain lands or buildings in Florida if they're not a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. Mr. Fakler, the state of Florida, Miami-Dade County, if you look at Census Bureau data, you're going to find that more than 50% of the residents are foreign-born in Miami-Dade County. And I know this says it's for people who aren't living here, but I just wonder, A, how do you think this will be viewed locally as well as nationally? And B, is this an attempt to try to make housing more affordable for locals by getting the out-of-country investors out of the game? So what's your take on this?
Well, I would say no to your second point. Miami, as we all know, is a very unique area. We have a lot of investment, real estate buyers from Venezuela, Russia. The Chinese connection is very interesting because what's happening is the Chinese nationals are buying properties and condos for their kids who go to school here. So, and a huge part of this is they're saying that the EB-5 investment, which is notoriously popular here in South Florida. I don't know about the rest of the country.
If you're going to say EB-5, just let me explain it to the audience. EB-5 is a program where if you invest a certain amount of money, I think last time I heard it was $500,000, but you got to check with an attorney or somebody with a broker-dealer license. You invest $500,000 in a financing instrument, you then have the ability to get fast-tracked under a government program for a green card. So that's an EB-5 visa. It's used to generate cash from abroad and give this incentive for people who are wealthy, who want to come live in the United States. But go ahead, John. Sorry.
But I'm sure there's going to be blowback from developers and everybody because, I thought DeSantis was pro-business. This is going to, this spells perhaps a financial disaster for local real estate. You're talking about, half of the investment you're going to cut out. You're not going to allow this. You're going to prohibit EB-5 investment. My understanding from the story is that the intent was to cut down money laundering in the real estate business. But, to do so, you go out there, you have hundreds of people peeled into this hearing led by these Chinese group claiming discrimination. And the blowback was unexpected because the bill was co-sponsored by a Democrat, which is, very curious because they thought this was just going to slide right through because it was bipartisan. And in fact, one of the, I think it was the chairman of this hearing said, we're going to have to amend this. We didn't realize we were going to have this kind of explosive response to this bill. So, I don't think this is going to fly. They're going to have to do some serious amending to this bill for it to go through just because of the blowback.
And it makes me wonder too, the way that a lot of people get around that is they simply set up a corporation and they become the principals. And then therefore, if they're not buying it in their own name, there's always sort of a workaround. But I just, the message it's sending is what, John? What do you think this message is to the public abroad?
I actually think that he needs some serious crisis management advice because this is now, let's not forget, he's in this fight with Disney. And now he's got a second fight now on the horizon.
We're talking about DeSantis.
DeSantis, I'm sorry. Yes,
he's getting sued by Disney World,
by Disney,
Disney company, and then then the state is countersuing Disney.
Correct. And now you've got this situation. So from a political perspective, nationally, he's cooking his own goose with these, you know, I mean, I can't believe, I mean, he's cooking his own goose locally as well. I'm sure the developers are not loving this, but nationally, you know, I mean, he's going after very popular programs, and I don't think it's going to help him with the presidential election.
Interesting. So you think this is all moved for the presidential run he has, more so than trying to bring down prices in Florida, so residents can afford to buy?
Right, he's trying to impress on the cultural wars. I mean, that seems to be he thinks is his strength. So he's playing this up. I mean, you know, and now it's I think it's going to bite him in the foot. I mean, this is you know, pretty shocking that he had two missteps here, really back to back within a month.
Interesting.